Good morning, I'm Jonathan from Mental Help. So I think one of the things that we need to learn how to do is how to focus and how to control our focus. If you're like me and OCD starts to bother you, you could be with friends or out, whatever you're doing. OCD tends to be nagging your thoughts. It takes you away from enjoying what you're doing. If you're with friends, talking to them, you lose concentration, you start trying to get rid of this OCD intrusive thought or obsession, and you start thinking about the compulsion that you should do. Our thought process is our own worst enemy. If you get infected, if your body gets infected, I think it's your bacteria, isn't it? I don't know how it works, but it all sort of rushes, doesn't it, to fight it. And if you've got a fever, then all your energy is used trying to sort of heal yourself, and it's really draining. And OCD is like that. As soon as you get an intrusive thought, or as soon as an OCD thought comes in, all of your mind power is focusing on that thought and how to solve it. And the only way you know to solve it is to do the compulsions. That's not really helpful because it takes you out of the moment, especially if you're doing something or spending time with somebody or trying to enjoy something. OCD can strip you completely of that because it comes and nags at you. It's tapping on your brain and it's just bothering you, and then you're completely consumed with thinking about it and how you can get rid of it so that you can enjoy the current moment. When I think, in fact, ERP and other CBT methods that we're learning, the idea behind them is they are to let us live with that nagging OCD voice, but be able to focus on what's going on and enjoy what's going on now, and then come back to that voice later when its power over us is not so strong and we've built up resilience. So it is going to be hard to do, but I've just got to do it, and that's the challenge. That's the really hard bit to comprehend, because it's all good, isn't it? Sort of saying, oh yeah, let's get fit, let's go running each day. Yeah, it's going to be brilliant, and this time next year we'll be really healthy and fit. And then Monday comes and it's cold, so are you coming for a run? No way, I'm not doing that. And we're at that tipping point, aren't we, where it's, are you actually going to practice what you preached and start to put the hard work in? Or are you going to dip your feet in the water and go, this is cold and I'm going back to sit down and think about it a bit more? We've actually got to start to get into the water of changing ourselves for the better. It's only going to happen when we start to put some real effort in. I try to imagine OCD as this voice. It seems to be coming in from the right hand side. Maybe it's coming to that part of my brain that's doubtful and negative and is intrusive. So then I start to think, well, let's have another side, the good side, the left side. And that voice from this side can be a counteraction to this voice. So what I'm trying to say is that when this one's coming in and saying, oh, you're worrying about this and that, then maybe this voice on this side, I need to imagine it saying positive things. As if I was watching somebody have intrusive thoughts or OCD thoughts. If that was me watching someone else, I'd say, Jonathan, that's a silly thought. You don't need to worry about that. That's not true. Enjoy what you're doing now. Enjoy the meal with your friends. Enjoy the conversation. Enjoy having coffee with your neighbour. Enjoy whatever you're doing. That thought is not important. Put it to the back. Come back and deal with it later. Come back in an hour's time when you're feeling a bit more resilient. I think everything in life generally has an equal and opposite reaction. So if I'm going to have negative thought voice coming in and bothering me, I'm going to try to have a positive thought voice come in and build me up and be a third person perspective talking to me and encouraging me to not listen to the nonsense this idiot here is saying. And sometimes we use all our energy in a negative way. For example, we get a text message and we start to worry about it or think, well, what is that person thinking? Maybe I've upset them, or maybe they haven't replied, you haven't heard back from the person. I always do that, start thinking the worst. Oh, they don't like me, I've done something to upset them. And then I start consuming myself. And if I don't get control of that, I consume myself with these negative thoughts to the great extent that I can't function anymore. And I go and lie down on my bed and I feel just rubbish. Sometimes when OCD attacks, it can hit you, and the longer you leave it, I think one of the things to understand with OCD, and I'm starting to realise it, is that when OCD comes and attacks you, say for example, someone hasn't texted back quick enough and you start to think maybe you've upset them, you start to have those negative thoughts. You've got two choices. Like one, you phone them, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry, I had your text back. Oh yeah, sorry, I was driving, didn't want to crash. Yeah, okay, fine, that's done. But what you've done, you've given in to a compulsion, and OCD's won again. The other thing we sometimes do is we go, okay, I'm not going to give in to that compulsion. I'm going to be strong. So you say, right, they haven't text back, but I am not going to phone them up and ask them why they haven't text back. I'm not going to escalate it and give in to OCD. And in turn, what you do is you don't do anything. That is another way that it will win against you. OCD is sitting dormant there, festering, and starts to catastrophize in your mind. You start to ruminate on it and think on it again and again and again. And subconsciously, you may think you're winning because you're not doing the compulsion, but actually OCD is getting stronger and stronger. It's like a pressure, it's building up until it hits that one point that you can't stand it anymore, and then you explode, sometimes in not the best possible way. So I think when an OCD obsession comes along and you decide you're not going to do your compulsion, you have got to not just sit there. You've got to grab hold of the whole situation and do something positive. Go see a neighbour, have a cup of coffee, do something constructive, but really, really get active and get your mind focusing, even forcing your mind to focus on something by doing something productive. Earlier on, I was having an issue with something, and I decided I was going to fight it. Very small compulsion I was talking about earlier. And I realised that I need to keep busy, so I thought, okay, I'll do this. I know what I'll do. I'll go and see if Porky wants a cup of coffee. So I phoned Porky up, because Porky's great. I said, Porky, would you like a cup of coffee? He said, oh yeah, great. I said, I'll be over in a minute. So I've sort of asked him if he wants a cup of coffee, but then I've invited myself over. I'd do that, but he doesn't like my coffee anyway. The thing is, I went over there and had half an hour, and it kind of like alleviated it. He helped me to focus. What we did is watch Gordon Ramsay swearing on telly, but it focused my mind off of the issue, and then I came back and I felt a little bit better. So thanks Porky, because I know Porky watches all my videos. I think that's what we need to start to do. So we've got to have some kind of a procedure. When the alarm of OCD goes off and you go, I've got a complex, it's hitting me, you go, right. Before it starts to get a grasp on me, it's like a tug of war, before it starts to pull me closer to the edge, where I either go into a meltdown and fall apart, or I do a compulsion, I'm going to have a plan. It's hitting me, okay, right, get off your bum, start doing something. What can I do? I'll go to the shop. Go do the shopping. I'll do something I like. I'll go in, see a friend. I'll catch up with something I've missed. I'll do something productive and drive yourself to motivate yourself to focus. I think as you start to learn to focus on these things, you will start to become stronger and cognitively better at turning away from OCD. And in a way, it is ERP, isn't it? It's exposure and response, because you have been exposed to OCD, not out of choice, and you are responding to it in a certain way. I hope that what I've said has been useful and I've come across in a helpful way. If you like the video, please click the thumbs up. That really helps it get promoted to other people. And also, if you can subscribe, then brilliant. I'll keep you up to date with the videos.